Hey guys, we're going to start 12-2 here. The Cold War gets hot. And remember, the Cold War is an ideological conflict. In other words, it's a conflict of ideas. Should people be free? Should they be able to select their own leaders? Should they have the right to create their own products and buy and sell their goods with whom they would like to? This is an important concept in the world, and it's worth fighting for. And the free countries led by the United States after World War II quickly realized that the Soviet Union has no intention on allowing the nations of the world to go freely into the future, so to speak. So we've already talked about the beginning of the Cold War in the first section of this module. How things develop in Europe, the tension between the countries controlled by the Soviet Union and the free countries of Western Europe, and how we get involved with the Truman Doctrine and the Marshall Plan, and how we stand up for the people of Berlin. Well, unfortunately, the Soviet Union is not going to be satisfied with what happens in Europe. They're going to start pushing their weight around on the other side of the world as well. So they weigh in the Chinese Civil War in the late 1940s. And then in 1949, there's a victory by the communists in the Chinese Civil War. So now not only do we have the Soviet Union, the world's largest country that is a communist country, but then the world's most populous country, China, becomes a communist country. And both of those countries border on Korea. And that's the second heading in this next section of the module. It is the Korean War. And so that breaks out in 1950 when North Korea invades South Korea. And so you'll look into that. How, what are the roots of this conflict? What happens during the Korean War? It is a very important conflict. Sadly, many Americans don't know much about the Korean War, but it is one of the most important events in the Cold War. And when you think about Korea today, North Korea is a poverty-stricken country that is very reclusive and treats their people terribly. South Korea is one of the freest, most productive nations in the world. So clearly there's a lot of very important things to understand about the Korean War. So that's largely what this section is about, and I have a couple of really good videos in there that I think will help you understand the terrible things that happen in China under the leadership of the communists there, and how the leadership of North Korea gets influenced by Stalin and Mao, and they try to push this communist agenda on the Korean Peninsula. And as you can see behind me, not only did the North Koreans start this war, but it's going to be some brutal fighting that actually ends up turning the war into something like a stalemate so South Korea can be free. So this is a really tough chapter of world history. It is 1950 to 1953. And like I said earlier, the Korean War is very important to understanding. So, excuse me. Take your time, spend the next several days, seeing the videos and reflecting on them and answering the questions and working out the section. I'd like you to be done with this section by the beginning of next week. We will have Zoom sessions on Wednesday and Friday this week, and anybody who shows up in the Zoom sessions is going to get extra credit in this section. So, do your best to dig in here, guys. This is a very important conflict, and we will talk about it. But hopefully also, as you dig through this section, you're going to have a good understanding of why the Korean War is a very important conflict to understand. So have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the Zoom sessions this week. Take care of yourselves.